Hello, BookTube. I have some mail for you here on an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous Tuesday. Yesterday's weather got hot, and maybe a little sticky too. It disappeared this morning. And as I predicted, the mail picked right back up again. I had a little bit, even on a federal holiday, but we've got a pile of stuff here, including quite a few periodicals. I got the London Review of Books. I recently resubscribed. So that's fantastic. What else do I have here? I got the new TLS, which required only a little pruning. Only one page had to be pulled out and destroyed. But the very first thing on the inside is Nicola Schulman reviewing two new books about the House of Windsor, which is always of interest to me. So there you go. What else do we have here? Oh, well, we've got the insanity of square-bound glossy magazines. For instance, GQ. I have no idea who this person is on the cover, and with every issue that I get of GQ, I start to think that it is probably, I'm probably going to have to let my subscription lapse, because every issue that I get is just a little bit less comprehensible than the last one. And not because the articles are tough, but because all the references in every issue seem to be just densely in crowd. And for a crowd I'm not in. I mean, GQ is tough to take anyway, because at the beginning, every other page is a full-color ad for processed tobacco that kills its users. Exactly as if this were like the 1960s or something like that. Or you've got quack stuff, but mostly at the beginning anyway, it's tobacco products. Just getting full-page ads for chewing tobacco. Warning: this product can cause gum disease and tooth loss. This product does cause gum disease and tooth loss. In all cases, every time. It's not that it can do it. Maybe you get a bad batch or something. It's that it does. It does do that. It is a deadly device. It cannot be used responsibly. And yet, they're helping to foot GQ's ads. Maybe that was a good ethical reason for me to stop getting the magazine anyway, but I largely don't understand it. I mean, I don't know who this guy is, and I'm not sure that I want to know. I do know that he's well tricked out. Here he is, bored on the deck of a vessel. He's wearing, I guess, somebody's laced oilies, and I don't know if you can make it out. Here, let's get you a closer shot. The watch that he has on his wrist, this thing here. You can make it out a little bit better there. So the leather strap was made from dead animals by living slaves. And the watch itself is clunky. It's probably not waterproof. It's probably not good for anything. And it's certainly not going to serve a watch's primary function, which is to tell time. Because this guy, whoever he is, his phone tells him what time it is, and he literally never, except for these pictures, he literally never stops looking at his phone. So this watch is not for that. This watch is to show other people how much money he has to spend on a watch. That's all. It's to impress strangers. And in case you want to know how much money this watch costs, any guesses? I'll give you the best shot that we ever get of it is right there. You can see from that it's not, it's ugly, it's hideous, it's got Frankenstein-style rivets in it. Any guesses? $1,000? You might think $1,000 would get Steve all steamed up, but what if I were to tell you that it was more than that? So you might think, all right, well, $4,000, that'll really get Steve angry. The watch in that picture that you just saw costs $305,000. Significantly more than $250,000 for a watch the person will never use to tell time. So yeah, the more I think about it, the more I am indeed talking myself out of a subscription to GQ. But this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. They have an article on NFTs. It's pure bro speak. It's designed to talk to people who have been taken in by NFTs. And this is the artwork for the title of the piece. And it's like there's no editor who said that is too stylized. The human eye cannot see the letters NFT in that unless they're looking for it. It's too stylized, and the rest of the article follows suit. It's the same way. So, also a theme came up in this issue that comes up in all the other square bounds that we have. See if you can spot it. I have no idea who this person is, but see if you can spot can you spot the element, the theme here? Yes, the person is a rampant tobacco addict. And yes, the person is insulting you and everyone else involved by seeming bored in a photo shoot for a glossy magazine you're going to pay money to look at. But that's not it. Can you see it? It's face tattoos. Face tattoos are an indisputable, visible sign of severe mental illness, to the point where you are a danger to yourself and others. And this kid, whoever he is not the only person who's like that in this issue. The only article in this whole issue that came even close to making any sense to me was an article on the FaZe clan, which I just happen to know a little about for obscure reasons that need not detain us here. But even that wandered off in the hinterlands of FaZe minutia. So I don't know. This could be a referendum on GQ. This next one, I think I got it as a bonus subscription for something else. I certainly did not write out a check for it, but I am now getting issues of Men's Health, which is decidedly not about men's health. It's decidedly not about that. All the celebrities that ever get hit up for this magazine are roasting tobacco addicts. They do not care at all about health. I thought that the beginning was a little bit interesting because it has, let me see if I can show you. Oh, well, it also has another example of what I'm talking about, which is face tattooing. This young man has face tattoos, which means there's no ambiguity about it at all here. There's not a warning sign that maybe you need to look into his past. It is a completely dispositive, one-to-one indication of a severe mental illness, something that needs involuntary incarceration and round-the-clock supervision on the chance that maybe it can be medicated or cured. So to see a parade of people with face tattoos in these magazines, I have no idea if their photo crews survived the experience. But this, for instance, has a little rundown on the best water bottles, including a $70 model that will purify whatever water you put in it. And it has brief gear guides for other things as well. Which makes me think, again, I'll put the question to all of you, because I've asked this question a couple of times. It makes me think that there is a magazine out there that does that exclusively, where I don't have to read anything about, the stars of Top Gun 2 or anything like that. I can just look at the tech guides. I mean, I know there are some for computers, although I don't remember them well enough to know which one to subscribe to. And because the big Barnes & Noble with its huge newsstand in Boston is closing, I no longer have the ability to browse and see which one so that I can know what I'm subscribing to. But is there anything else? Like, what about Consumer Reports? Is Consumer Reports still made? Do they make a magazine still? They might be the solution to this. I don't think I'm... If someone had asked me, do you want to write out a check for a subscription to Men's Health, I wouldn't do it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to let my subscription to GQ lapse. That right there is a subscription to Consumer Reports if they do what I want. I just don't know if they do or not. I'll have to look around. That kind of magazine I would like. Even if it's assessments, reports, ratings, rankings of things that I am not necessarily ever going to get. I'm never going to get a water purification system. But I would still like to see an expert weigh in on which ones are good at what price levels. I just don't want the whole magazine to be, about something I have no plans to get and no interest in, like rating cars or video games or something like that. I'll have to look into it. But the last square-bound that we had was Architectural Digest, which we've been having a grand old time going through. And this issue of Architectural Digest has a very, very good theme running throughout it. It's nowhere to be seen in this spread. I have to say, there's something about the aesthetic layout of that sofa that very much appeals. Can't quite put my finger on it, but no, the theme that's running throughout here that I very much approved of is dogs. Architectural Digest will go into people's homes and photograph them. I imagine they send in a crew ahead of time to clean it up. And dogs are very much encouraged to be in the pictures, and they are all throughout this magazine. Of course, unfortunately, there's another strand that runs throughout, and that is that all of us have a dream here on BookTube. We all have a dream, whether we have it or not. We all have a dream of walls after walls of built-in bookshelves. So no more lugging bookcases upstairs, no more wondering if the shelves are going to bow. You've got built-in bookcases. And they are all throughout this issue, but they don't have any books on them. It just rubs salt in the wound. You've got built-in bookcases all over the place in this issue, but with little or few or no actual books on the shelves. And of course, we have the very best in welcoming, totally human design. Right? Here's my living room. Come right in. Make yourself comfortable. Do you want to sit almost completely sprawled on your back on one of these chairs? Or do you want to sit on that torture device? I mean, a straight back chair. Here's a little end table if you want to put something on it. What about this sculpture? Isn't that inviting? Yeah, this is my living room. If you sit in that chair for any length of time, you're going to need a pretty strong sunblock. Otherwise, you'll burn to a crisp. But how inviting could it be? Here's an example of built-in bookshelves that are crowded with books. And in a really nice little kitchen grotto, tiny little kitchen setup right next to a whole bunch of books. And yet, something about this arrangement does not appeal to Steve. There you have the built-in bookshelves with tons and tons of books on them, and yet something about that arrangement doesn't appeal to Steve. Again, can't quite put my finger on it. But I want to show an example yeah, here we go. There's a cute family with a dog. And they run all throughout here. There are dogs in all sorts of setups here. Although the setups themselves leave quite a bit to be desired. Here, for instance, is a wonderful, inviting kitchen. Isn't that lovely? Look at that. Look at the lines there. And I don't know if you make it out, right over the stove, there's a handy wall socket to charge not only your electronics, but also the androids that I presume live there. Maybe, to be fair to these androids, maybe Architectural Digest just makes everything look like this before they film it. Maybe instead of railing against these weirdos, I should be railing against the single weirdo who is the photographic director for Architectural Digest. I don't really know. Maybe not. You have the front of every issue of AD is mainly high-profile ads. Things for services where one item or consultation costs $50,000. But the people who subscribe to this magazine, quite a few of them, not me, but quite a few of them, can pay that money. So sometimes you'll look at an ad like this. That is visually lovely. I have no idea what's being advertised. Maybe the lamp. And some of the stuff in here is just unrealistic. There is a luxury tower. That's an ad. That's a luxury tower that you can live in Miami. That's in Miami. And it's 2022. And that's in Miami. And that's not a pool. That's the ocean. So you just look at it and say, okay, all right, I won't be investing in that property, but you can if you want to. But once you get past the ads, you get to the actual home spreads. And then you get to see what people are actually doing with their homes. And as we've noticed in this little feature, it's usually deplorable. It's usually absolutely awful. Here's a family cavorting and making private music. Behind them, huge built-in bookshelves. Any books? No. There's maybe 10 in that picture. Otherwise, no. But that isn't as bad as it gets. The built-in bookcases that don't have any books on them are pretty bad. But there was one little detail in here that was worse than that. It actually irritated Steve just a bit. Let me see if I can find it and find out where it is, too. There's a long spread in here about a community living thing that had me right up until they called themselves a compound. Take a little piece of personal life advice from Steve. Don't ever live in any place that calls itself a compound, okay? Only bad things will come from that. Oh, baby, do you want to get down? I've got all those magazines in your way. Here, let me get them out of the way. Oh, my goodness. So she collapsed. She collapsed right next to me. There was an aesthetic choice with books. Is this it? Yes. Yes, it's the author Glennon Doyle and the soccer star Abby Wambach. They have a home in California, and the picture that I saw of their arrangement was bad enough, but then the quote makes it so much worse. Let me show you the picture. Yes, all right. Here's the picture. And there you have a dog. Well, again, the theme runs throughout the issue, and there you at least have books on shelves. Take a close look at that, at those books on those shelves. There is the staircase, right? So you're coming down the stair to the landing, and there's the cute dog. But what's the quote? "Rooms without books feel panicky to me," says Glennon Doyle. And thank God Abby feels the same way. That is a room without books. Not only are these books completely unreachable by anyone without a ladder or a step stool, but you have to put the ladder or the step stool in a corner of the landing to get to them. Those are books that are designed to impress people, but never to be read. No real reader would put books in a situation like that. Those are totally inaccessible. This is the floor of the landing. So it is a room without books. What you mean is a room without books that people can see and ooh and ah over. It feels panicky to you. But fortunately, there was some sanity to counterbalance the square-bound glossy magazines. There was, for instance, the Martha's Vineyard Gazette. Square-bound black and white print newspaper from the island of Martha's Vineyard off the coast of Massachusetts. A wonderful place where I've spent a lot of time, and I am their books reviewer. I don't have a review in this issue, but the issue is still wonderful. And there's also the Bedford Times Press in Bedford, Iowa. Here are graduates, our local Utes are graduating. Look at the hair on him, I tell you. That's a different Iowa than I remember. And this also, like the Vineyard Gazette, is a local paper, but it has a non-local feature, which is me. It's yours truly. This is the home of my Ex Libris book column every week. Let's see, what was on my mind this time around? I wrote recently in this space about the fact that a big, well-stocked retail bookstore in my town will be closing its doors in June. They're not moving somewhere else, they're just disappearing, so that the town will have no retail bookstores at all. There'll still be a couple of secondhand shops, and there's a nice, reliable string of libraries, but retail bookstores with bustling shelves and a steady supply of the publishing industry's newest releases? No. And I talk about that a little. It was on my mind, and when you have a regular a column, I don't think any of the rest of you do, but I've done it before in the past. Now I do have one again. And when you have a regular column, you have to listen to things like that. If you write up a subject for your readers, and a week later, 2 weeks later, that subject is still bothering you, work it out in your column. Bring up that it's still bothering you, and work it out in your column. It will be, if it's happening, it will be interesting to your readers. If you've got any kind of writing talent, it will be interesting. But then we have the books. So let's see what we have here. First package is from the good folks at Europa. Let's see what this one is. Okay, this is an advanced copy of a translation. Yes, a translation. This comes out in late August. This is by Beata Umbayeyi Maris. All your children, scattered. Translated from the French by Alison Anderson. Nothing to look at here because it's just an advanced copy. But this is what it's going to look like. Should make that out there. That's what it's going to look like. So what have we got here? This is the author's debut novel, and it follows 3 generations torn apart by the genocide against the Tutsis as they try to reconnect with one another, rebuild broken links, and find their place in today's world. Blanche returns to Rwanda after building a life in Bordeaux with her husband and her young son, Stokely. Reuniting with her mother, Immaculata, old wounds are reopened for both mother and daughter, while Stokely, caught between 2 countries, tries to understand where he comes from and where he belongs. I'm guessing from that the author was born in Rwanda and grew up in Bordeaux and has a son named maybe Locally. Let's see here. The author was born in Rwanda in 1979, survived the Tutsi genocide, moved to France in 1994, and studied political science and worked for humanitarian causes. She is now an acclaimed novelist and poet. No information about her personal life, but it doesn't matter. No one writes anything other than autofiction. This will be taken straight from her Facebook post, word for word. And the idea will be, I have seen authors maybe this author is different because it's her debut, so I don't know. But I've seen authors actually take to social media when criticized, even lightly, and say, well, you can't criticize the work because it's all true. I can indeed. If you're calling it a novel, I can indeed criticize it, even if it's true. It's back, especially if it's true. But it's a debut coming out in a few months, so I don't have to worry about it yet. Let's see. This next one is a finished copy. What have we got here? Oh, great. I just read the advanced copy of this, and I really liked it. This is an author I just really like. Get rid of all this excess. This is the finished copy of The Great Man Theory by Teddy Wayne. Fantastic. So do we have... okay, this author wrote Apartment, he wrote Loner, he wrote Capitoil, and he wrote The Love Song of Johnny Valentine, which has a quote, a blurb on the back from Jess Walter in the New York Times book review, rather than me. I also reviewed The Love Song of Johnny Valentine for, I believe, the Washington Post, and loved it. What a novel. But I've never read a novel by this author I didn't like. And here we have his latest one, which I just read, and I really, really like it. It is a July release, is that right? Yes, July 12th. Let's see here. A bold, satirical take on our current political turmoil. This novel is the story of one man navigating his anxieties around masculinity, fatherhood, technology, and our contentious and confusing social climate. It's blisteringly witty, bubbling over with insights into America's cultural landscape and a certain type of cast-aside man who wants to rectify it. And that, that sounds really, really, really grabby and topical. And there's quite a bit in here that is. If I had to pick a weakness for this book, it is that it is almost idiomatic. It's almost idiomatically responsive to our current social moment, which isn't necessarily a damning criticism, but that will give this book a strong tendency to date. That's not really a pertinent criticism for you in the bookstores now. It's just I worry that this author is writing books that will really speak to the readers today, but that won't be around in 100 years. And he's so good that I would like him to be around in 100 years. There are comic set pieces in this book that not only will every reader in 2022 instantly recognize them on a visceral level of sympathy or understanding, but you'll also laugh. So I'm very happy to have this. I just read the advanced copy, so I will wait. I will wait until like the 10th or 11th of July to reread the hardcover. Great, fantastic. Then we have a cardboard box, or a cardboard envelope here. What have we got here? It's a lot of paperwork. Very few books need a lot of paperwork. I really don't need my handheld. What have we got here? I don't need your grandmother's recipe for bouillabaisse. Okay, this comes out. Oh, this came out in mid-May. So this is the finished copy. Yes? Yeah, this is the finished copy, an original paperback. But this is late getting to me. This is by Patrick Arye, and it's called 30 Animals That Make Us Smarter. Stories of the Natural World That Inspired Human Ingenuity. Very pretty cover. Mosquitoes may be pests at summertime cookouts, but inspiration from the design of their mouth parts is helping researchers develop pain-free surgical needles. And the humble mussel's ability to cling to slippery rocks has led to innovations in everything from plywood production to a glue that can cement crowns on teeth. From fashion and architecture to medicine and transportation, studying nature has resulted in a surprising array of extraordinary inventions. In this book, the author tells stories of biomimicry or innovations inspired by the natural world, which enrich our lives every day and in some cases help save them. And I read the advanced copy of this. Now I have the finished copy. I'll read it again because it rubbed me the wrong way when I started reading the advanced copy. And even though it rubbed me the wrong way, I kept reading and I kept getting more and more irritated. And you can see what rubbed me the wrong way just from that description, which does a bit of fancy dancing in terms of its wording that the author also does throughout this book. Let's go through it again. Mosquitoes are the inspiration from the design. Inspiration from the design of their mouthparts is helping researchers develop pain-free surgical needles. And the humble muscle's ability to cling to rocks has inspired innovations in everything from from plywood to a glue for cementing teeth. And when you read that wording, you almost picture mosquitoes or mussels in white lab coats, working alongside humans in order to figure out how to put their own innovations to use in the human world. When you read descriptions like that, you're reading about thousands of these animals plucked from their natural environment and tortured into yielding those secrets for the aforementioned white-coated lab researchers. You're talking about, when you talk about the humble mussel that can cling to the rocks, okay, well, the mussel is using biomechanical innovations that arise from millions of years of evolution. But no research is out studying those things on the rocks. No one is taking tiny little mucus samples from mussels. Instead, they're harvesting them and growing them in labs and disposing of them when they're done. And it's easy to overlook that when it's mosquitoes and mussels, but it's the same mind frame that applies to rats and beagles. And so 30 animals that made us smarter, whether they wanted to or not, would be a fuller title. But you see, there I am again, going at this thing when that's exactly what happened when I read it the first time. And I really need to give it a better shake than that. So even though it's late, I'll read the finished copy. And then we have this last one here. It's slim. It could be a slim volume of poetry, but it feels kind of heavy. So it could be maybe a finished copy, or something like that. It's not big. Let's see what we have here. Always got to have scissors nearby if your life is opening packages. Oh no. Oh, okay, no, it's not a book at all. Just the other day, I got a Nook color in the mail. One of these. I got a Nook color in the mail. This was the second device. Barnes & Noble, the retail bookstore that I mentioned earlier in this video, they came out with an original Nook to try and be part of the conversation with Android and Kobo and whatnot. And the original Nook had page turn buttons on the side, and it had an e-ink screen on top and a little bar of color at the bottom. I had to learn all about it because I wanted to sell it to customers at the bookstore and talk to customers in the meantime while I was doing that about how they read and why they read and when and where they read. And then the next batch of Kindles that Barnes & Noble came out with was this. This is not an e-reader. This was designed to compete with the iPad. And the other item that came out at the same time was the Simple Touch that is just an Amazon Kindle. It's just an e-ink reader. It doesn't have internet capability at all. Whereas this does. It's got the cute little design thing there at the bottom. It was with, if you open up the door in the back, you have a little space for a micro SD card to expand the memory. This thing has 8 gigs of memory, but quite a bit of that is taken up with the operating system. This is a very old machine. It's like 12 years old. So I think you only have really about 5 gigs of memory on this thing. It's got a very bright, beautiful display. This item here, somebody put 17 on there, so this was probably a lot for schools or something like that got de-accessed. I found it for dirt cheap online, like $9, something like that. And I'd already had one of these. I hauled one of these on a video earlier, and it wouldn't work. It would turn on. The Nook, even now, the Nook color has a remarkably beautiful display. I wonder if this has any power to it. Let's see if it does. It might not. But that previous Nook color, I got it, and I was all interested to see what kind of an experience it would be to read on. But when I was setting it up, it would not authenticate the Wi-Fi of Hyde Cottage. It would not do it over and over again. And my first, I worked on it for a while. I couldn't figure out any way to get it to do that. So I powered it down and put it away, and my first impulse was to go on eBay and see if I could find another one. I found one for even cheaper than the first one, and had it sent to me. That's this one. And only in the intervening, in the days while this was getting here, my surly houseboy mentioned that that almost certainly that first Nook failed to authenticate the Wi-Fi here because of a software update that it needed, that you can still get from Barnes & Noble. Oh, this does have color. Look at that. All right, well, there you go. So this is, what have we got here? My surly houseboy said, oh, this is just making a connection now. Great. So he said that it's entirely possible that you would just need a software update that you could get from the Barnes & Noble website and just sideload directly onto the machine. I haven't actually tried that. So let's do a little experiment here to see if this one also just refuses to connect to Wi-Fi. My idea, the Nook that I got, the Nook color, the last Nook color that came on this channel, wasn't a normal Nook color. It had been monkeyed with by someone who had stripped off the Barnes & Noble skin and made it into an Android device, just a stock Android device, which is what this is. Barnes & Noble doesn't make their device from scratch. And my thought was, maybe that monkeying around is what made the problem. So let's see if that's true. Let's try to sign in to my Wi-Fi and see if it does it. If this one also says that it simply cannot obtain my email, well, then I know that it wasn't the person monkeying around with it. It's just that both of the Nooks need an update. Oh, no. This connected to Wi-Fi immediately. Okay, so probably it would do no good for me to try to get that update for that other Nook color. But at least now I have a Nook color to play around with. That's great. It's nice, heavy machine, really nice quality build. Just a lovely build. I will get that number 17 off there, and then sideload a few books onto this and see what it's like as a reading experience. When I sold these things in the bookstore, they were $250, and I didn't buy one. I'd never read a book on this thing, and this thing connect right away. So okay, when it comes to a 12-year-old color tablet, I don't really need to root my Nook and strip off the bars. I'm going to use this to read. I'm not going to use it to do anything else. It just so happened that the first one that I got that had been monkeyed around by someone was just dirt cheap. That's why I didn't care that it was rooted from. I'm going to use this to read, so I don't care if it has the Barnes & Noble skin on it. So this is now I have one that works. Great. Okay, fantastic. Well, all right, that's quite enough tech for this channel. That's quite enough tech. But we did have books as well. We have 30 animals that make us smarter, because we're not animals. We have The Great Man Theory by Teddy Wayne. Cannot recommend this book strongly enough. You're going to love it. And finally, a debut novel, All Your Children Scattered, which is a novel literally in name only. Every single thing in this book actually happened to the author, and only the names have been changed, and those only barely. Every word, every great quote that your friend made 10 years ago, oh my God, we laugh over that quote every time we get together. Well, it's got to be in the book. Why? Does it fit any of the characters in the book? Well, no. It's just great. Everything that happened to me has got to be in the book. Nothing that hasn't happened to me is important. The ethos of autofiction. But we'll see. This could be the exception that proves the rule. So anyway, that's the mail for today. Some books, some magazines, and a little more tech for an apartment that, after last week, needs no more tech. So, that's it. I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.